Welcome to Current Affairs with Faraz, your trusted source for unbiased, in-depth analysis of Pakistan's armed forces modernization and global geopolitical developments. We cover the Pakistan Army, Navy, and Air Force with clear facts and realistic insights. No hype, no bias. Stay sharp, stay informed. Today, we're looking at a flashpoint in the eastern Mediterranean, where a new alliance is isolating Turkey, forcing Ankara to make a dramatic strategic pivot towards its old rival, Iran. We'll also cover major military hardware updates from across the region, from Pakistan to China. Okay, let's dive into this complex situation. It's a story of energy, alliances, and shifting power dynamics that could reshape the entire Middle East. We've structured this explainer into 4 parts to give you the full picture. We'll start with the core conflict over natural gas, then look at Turkey's big move toward Iran, get an update on Pakistan's Air Force, and wrap up with a look at the region's military technology race. So the crucial point is how this all began. It wasn't overnight. The seeds of this conflict were planted over a decade ago. Now, what's really interesting about this is how a commercial energy project just snowballed into a full-fledged security block. I mean, it makes sense. Once you've got billions of dollars of infrastructure at stake, you've got to protect it. And that military partnership effectively boxed Turkey right out of some very lucrative gas fields, practically on its own doorstep. And this brilliantly illustrates the two opposing sides. On one side, you have this US-backed alliance. On the other, you've got Turkey and Libya trying to carve out their own space, which, as you can imagine, has led to a direct clash of interests. And the rhetoric has just become incredibly sharp. This reported statement really highlights the deep-seated historical and political tensions that are fueling what started out as essentially an energy dispute. So, let's move on and see how this builds. Facing this united front, Turkey made a move that surprised a lot of observers, turning to a traditional regional competitor. Wow, this is a landmark statement. Coming from Turkey's intelligence chief, it signals a really profound shift in Ankara's strategic thinking. It definitely moves them away from their usual double-play foreign policy and raises serious questions for their NATO allies. So you can see the strategic logic playing out, step by step. Turkey realized that in the current climate, going it alone was just no longer an option. And that's what's led to this historic and you could say very pragmatic outreach to Iran. Okay, shifting our focus from geopolitics to hardware, let's start with a really significant update for the Pakistan Air Force and its newest multi-role fighter. Right? So according to the latest open source intelligence, the PAF is confirmed to be operating 20 J-10C Vigorous Dragons. But the story of their total acquisition numbers is actually a little more complex than that. This slide gives us the context. So while we know 20 are flying right now, the final fleet size might end up being around 36. It seems like a balancing act, right? They're meeting their current needs while keeping an eye on the planned arrival of even more advanced stealth aircraft in the future. And this modernization isn't happening in a vacuum at all. Let's look at a few other major developments, starting with China's answer to American air power. China's H-20 is a potential game changer. It's still unconfirmed, but these reports of it testing suggest Beijing is getting really close to joining that very exclusive club of nations with intercontinental stealth bombing capability. That is a huge deal. And to connect this all back to our feature story, Turkey is also advancing its own strike capabilities in a big way. The successful test of its Typhoon hypersonic missile gives it a powerful new deterrent, a weapon that sends a very clear message. And briefly, other key acquisitions are happening all over the place. You've got advanced European airlifters for Indonesia, and cutting-edge South Korean artillery and avionics are being adopted globally. The tech race is definitely heating up. It really leaves us with a critical question, doesn't it? The link between geopolitical tension and military development is just so clear. The standoff in the Mediterranean and the rapid pace of weapons innovation show that regional powers are actively preparing for what could be a much more contested future.
Thanks for joining Current Affairs with Faraz. Subscribe for more real defense analysis, and we'll see you in the next update.